Imagine this. Patrick Swayze, the guy who lifted Jennifer Grey into the stars in Dirty Dancing, who whispered eternal love to Demi Moore in Ghost, and who surfed waves of adrenaline in Point Break. He's the ultimate symbol of effortless charm, the dancer with a cowboy's grit, the heartthrob who made vulnerability look like strength. We all remember the lifts, the laughs, the lines that stuck with us for decades. But what if the man behind those moments was carrying a weight so heavy it threatened to pull him under long before the world ever knew? What if his smile hid fractures that started in a Texas living room and echoed through Hollywood boardrooms, family dinners, and quiet nights alone? This isn't about the dances or the dramas we replayed on VHS. It's about the unseen battles, the kind that whisper in the dark and shape a legend in ways no script could capture. Stick with me, because peeling back these layers reveals a Patrick Swayze who fought not just for fame, but for every breath of a life that felt like it could slip away at any turn. And trust me, by the end, you'll see him in a light that changes everything. Picture a small Houston studio in the late 1950s, mirrors fogged from sweat, the sharp crack of a wooden stick against the floor keeping time. That's where Patrick Swayze learned to move before he could tie his shoes. His mother, Patsy, ran the place like a drill sergeant in ballet slippers. She'd been a choreographer for big shows, trained with George Balanchine himself, and she poured every ounce of that discipline into her son. From age 3, Patrick was stretching at the bar, toes bleeding into satin, while other kids chased fireflies outside. Patsy believed greatness demanded pain, so she delivered it, literally. One story from his 18th birthday still turned stomachs. Patrick missed a step in rehearsal, and Patsy lashed out with a belt in front of the entire class. The welts rose fast, but the real sting was the silence that followed. His father, Jesse, a quiet engineer who preferred fishing to footlights, finally stepped in and told Patsy enough was enough. That moment lodged deep. Patrick later told close friends he spent decades trying to prove he was more than the kid who couldn't land a perfect pirouette. Every leap in Dirty Dancing, every fight scene in Roadhouse, it all traced back to that studio floor, where love and fear blurred into one relentless push. He once said the bruises faded, but the need to be flawless never did. Yet even as he spun into stardom, a shadow from home followed closer than anyone knew. Don Swayze was the older one by 5 years, taller, broader, the brother who taught Patrick how to throw a spiral and how to land a backflip on a trampoline. They shared a bedroom in that Houston split level, whispered about girls under the covers, and both caught the performing bug from Patsy. Don danced too, acted in bit parts, even stunt-doubled for Patrick once or twice. But where Patrick's star kept rising, Don's flickered. By the early 90s, he was battling a darkness nobody in the family named out loud. Friends later said the drinking started as weekend relief, then became nightly armor. The pills followed. Patrick tried everything: late-night drives, tough love talks, even flying Don to Los Angeles for a fresh start. Nothing stuck. Then came the morning of October 27, 1995. Patrick was in pre-production for a film when the call came from Texas. Don had locked himself in the garage of the old family home, put a shotgun to his chest, and ended it. Patrick dropped the phone, drove straight to the airport, and didn't speak for the entire flight. He buried his brother next to their grandparents and never held a public memorial. In private, he told Lisa he kept hearing Don's laugh in empty rooms, kept seeing him in every mirror. The guilt sat heavy. He'd been the one who made it, the one who should have pulled Don up with him. That loss carved a hollow Patrick carried into every role after, a quiet ache behind the megawatt grin. With the world cheering his every move, Patrick chased escape in ways that nearly cost him everything. 1987. The summer belonged to a low-budget romance nobody expected to work. Patrick read the Dirty Dancing script, rolled his eyes at the title, and almost passed. Then he stepped onto the set in North Carolina, slipped into those black boots, and the camera caught something electric. The lift in the lake, the sway in the final dance. Millions watched Baby and Johnny fall in love and, in the process, crowned Patrick the king of cool. 3 years later, Ghost turned him into a romantic icon, that pottery wheel scene steaming up living rooms worldwide. Point Break followed, proving he could trade tenderness for testosterone without missing a beat. The world saw the hair, the hips, the half smile that said, "I've got this." What it didn't see was the knee that gave out in 1984 during a football stunt for a TV movie. The doctors called it a career ender. Patrick called it Tuesday. Painkillers dulled the ache enough to film, but the bottle became a co-star. By the time he was surfing with Keanu Reeves, he was hiding flasks in his wetsuit. Lisa watched the late-night script turn into late-night arguments, watched the man who once carried her over thresholds stumble through their own kitchen. Hollywood kept booking him, critics kept praising him, but the roar of the crowd drowned out the rattle in his medicine cabinet. But the bottles and pills whispered louder than applause, pulling him toward edges Hollywood pretended not to see. By the mid-90s, the invitations still poured in, but the yeses came slower. Directors who once begged for Patrick now hesitated when his agent called. Word traveled fast in those closed-door meetings. He's brilliant when he shows up, but will he show up? The truth was uglier than any tabloid could print. After Dawn's death, the painkillers for the knee turned into painkillers for the heart. A glass of whiskey at wrap parties stretched into a bottle before sunrise. Patrick checked into a discreet Arizona facility in 1996, told the press he was resting a shoulder. He stayed 30 days, came out swearing he'd licked it, then relapsed before the next premiere. Lisa drew lines in the sand, leave the house or leave the marriage. He chose the house, chose her, chose the fight every morning he woke up shaking. There were nights he drove to the ocean just to scream into the waves so the neighbors wouldn't hear. He kept a notebook where he wrote letters to Dawn he never mailed, pages soaked in sweat and regret. Friends like Rob Lowe tried interventions. Patrick smiled, thanked them, then poured another round. The role strayed to indie flicks and straight-to-video action. The man who once commanded $20 million a picture was suddenly auditioning for parts that paid scale. He told himself it was temporary, told Lisa it was temporary, told the Mirror it was temporary. As whispers of unreliability circled sets, old wounds reopened in ways that changed the game forever. The late 90s felt like a slow-motion fade-out. Scripts arrived with polite rejections stapled to the front. "We love Patrick, but the insurance." Studios feared the liability of a leading man who might miss a call time because he was wrestling demons in a hotel bathroom. One blockbuster that slipped through his fingers still stings: the romantic lead in a Julia Roberts vehicle that eventually went to a younger, cleaner-cut star. The director later admitted off-record that Patrick's audition was magic, but the producers wanted bankable reliability. Then came the rumors that cut deeper than any lost paycheck. Anonymous posts on early internet forums claimed Patrick had fathered children outside his marriage, kids tucked away in quiet towns with mothers paid to stay silent. No proof ever surfaced, no paternity suits, no tearful tabloid confessions, yet the whispers stuck like tar. Lisa shut them down in interviews with a steel smile. "We've been together since we were teenagers. There's nothing to hide." Patrick refused to dignify the chatter, but friends saw the toll. He started skipping industry tardies, started turning down magazine covers, started measuring success by how many days he could string together without a drink. The betrayal wasn't just professional. It was the town turning its back on the golden boy the moment his shine dulled. He told a journalist in 2001, Hollywood loves you when you're up and forgets you when you're human. Those scars ran deeper than scripts, waiting for the fight that would demand every ounce of his spirit. January 2008. Patrick sat in a sterile Los Angeles office, staring at a scan that looked like a Rorschach test gone wrong. The doctor's voice sounded underwater. Stage 4 pancreatic cancer. Maybe months, maybe weeks. Patrick asked one question: "Can I still work?" The answer was a cautious yes, so he signed on for a cable series called The Beast. For 13 episodes, he played an FBI agent who bent rules and broke jaws, all while chemo dripped into a port hidden under his shirt. Between takes, he'd slip into a trailer, vomit into a bucket, then walk back out cracking jokes with the crew. Makeup covered the yellow tint in his eyes. Long sleeves hid the track marks from IVs. He refused pain meds that might fog his lines, choosing instead to grit through 12-hour days on black coffee and sheer will. Lisa drove him to set at dawn, picked him up at midnight, and never once let the cameras catch her crying. At home, he'd collapse on the ranch, horses nickering in the dark, while he whispered apologies to Dawn for not being stronger. In August 2009, production wrapped. Patrick flew to New Mexico to scatter his father's ashes, then came home to finish his memoir. The last pages were dictated from bed, voice raspy but steady. "Tell them I kept dancing." On September 14th, with Lisa's hand in his, he took a final breath and promised her he'd prove love outlasts everything. In the quiet after, truths long buried began to surface, reshaping how we see the man behind the myth. September 2009 left a vacuum, and into it rushed every rumor Hollywood had ever swallowed. The memoir hit shelves weeks after the funeral, raw pages dictated from a hospital bed, and suddenly the polished icon cracked wide open. Readers learned how Patrick begged doctors not to tell the press he was terminal, how he rehearsed deathbed lines like monologues, how he kept a photo of Dawn taped inside his script binder. Lisa gave her first interview in 2010, voice steady but eyes red, and admitted the marriage had nearly shattered twice, once in the haze of the 90s, again when chemo turned their bedroom into a triage unit. She never blamed him, only the disease, but the honesty stunned fans who'd bought the fairy tale posters. Then came the 2019 documentary, I Am Patrick Swayze. Childhood friends, co-stars, even the nurse who held his hand at the end, they all spoke of a man who apologized for crying, who thanked orderlies by name, who memorized every crew member's kid's birthday. The film quietly debunked the wilder rumors, no secret offspring, no deathbed confessions of affairs, yet it birthed new ones. Clips went viral on TikTok in 2024, slow-motion zooms on Lisa's face at the premiere, captions screaming, "She looks guilty." Facebook groups dissected body language, claimed she'd emotionally checked out years earlier. None of it held water, but the clicks rolled in. What did stick was Patrick's own voiceover, recorded months before he passed. "If I taught anyone anything, let it be that falling apart is still dancing." That line now loops under fan edits, a quiet rebellion against the myth that strength means silence. The man who once hid every fracture left us a map of them instead. So here's the secret nobody dared whisper while the cameras rolled. Patrick Swayze was never the unbreakable hero. He was the kid who bled in ballet shoes, the brother who couldn't save his sibling, the star who drowned applause in whiskey, the husband who begged forgiveness at 3 in the morning, the patient who filmed fight scenes while cancer ate him alive. Every lift, every line, every smile cost more than the box office ever showed. Yet he kept choosing the next step, the next scene, the next sunrise, with Lisa's hand in his. That's the revelation that lingers. Vulnerability wasn't his weakness. It was the music he danced to when no one was watching.
Next time Dirty Dancing plays, notice the tremor in Johnny's arms during the final lift. It's not acting. It's Patrick proving the floor can hold you even when your legs want to quit. What if we all danced like that, cracks and all? If you've ever wondered what really went on behind the Hollywood glamour, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell for Retro Celeb Talk. We dig up the untold stories, the quiet battles, and the moments that made legends human every week. Drop your favorite Patrick memory in the comments, smash the like if this one hit home, and share it with someone who needs to see the man behind the myth. More secrets from the Golden Age are coming. Stay tuned.